Today, February 8th of 2026, the Super Bowl happened. It was cool and all. I always love seeing the Pats lose, but the real highlight of this show, for me and the rest of the overthinkers and Latinos who look for me in everything, was the halftime show. This year was under Bad Bunny's power to put on a show for the rest of the world to see. And in the middle of the current political and social climate, it was a huge deal, not just for us Latinos, but for everybody in this side of the world. And whether you're Latino or not, support Trump or not, you can't tell me you haven't seen at least one thing regarding this topic in the last month. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, the news. Everything was started with Benito. It's been a hot topic ever since it was announced that he'd be the headliner of the show. Everybody's been dying for it to happen, to praise it, to criticize it, and, complain about it. And today, just I am sitting here in my Bad Bunny shirt and without any makeup, we're going to try and analyze it. Welcome to Bean Talks. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, better known as Bad Bunny, is a Puerto Rican singer, part of the US, in case you didn't know. He started his career singing trap and quickly shifted to reggaeton. In the last couple of years, he has become an important and controversial figure in the Latin music. This controversial side of his existence as an artist has deepened further after the announcement of his presence on the halftime show. Social media was flooded with hate at the thought of, having a Latin artist in a show that's so American, even if the artist is from Puerto Rico, part from the US territory, but okay. It was even worse when people heard that the reason why he hadn't toured in the States was a protest at the anti immigration policies of the current administration. And the hate only grew when those same people learned that he had 30 consecutive shows in Puerto Rico. He is a guy proud of where he came from, and he always lifts Puerto Rico up in his songs and statements. Bad Bunny is the first Latino ever to have a Super Bowl show as a headliner. Gloria Estefan had been on a show before, and so did Shakira, but he's the first one to ever had a whole show speaking in almost all Spanish. They're almost coming from that one snip of Lady Gaga singing in English, but at least with a very Latin beat of salsa. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start digesting this together, shall we? I gotta admit that when I was getting ready to watch it today, I was ready for it to be what some of us thought was going to be a slap in the face of ultra right and the people who want the world to be just for them alone. But what I got from today's show was something different that left me a very bittersweet taste, I think. The show started quite familiar already, subtitles in Spanish, the
Qué
Que
rico
Rico
es
Ser
el
Latino.
latino.
From the moment the show started, I felt like I was in the middle of the Caribbean. The sugarcane field, one of the most common jobs for Latinos here and in the States, working in the fields. Hard work that doesn't get as much recognition as it should. Old people playing domino, the people dancing in the streets, La Casita, which is also part of his normal scenery on his concerts. When the trip on a sugarcane field stops, we see a couple get engaged and we shift to the house, where we see this porch full of important Latin figures Cardi B, Young Miko, Pedro Pascal, Karen G. And here he starts singing Yo Perreo Sola, a very cool song that speaks about a very independent woman that does something that might seem silly, but quite a statement. She dances alone. She doesn't need anyone else to dance, even in perreo, which is a dance that is inherently made to dance with someone else. It takes us into Puerto Rico with Voy a llevarte pa PR, a song that speaks about the beauty of not only Puerto Rico itself, but about having a good time with him. After that, there's a very important little bridge when he breaks the ceiling down and he lands on the interior of the house and Ego starts. A bridge of different songs that give homage to some of the pioneers and most important figures of reggaeton by playing some of the classics that all of us know and dance to. Don Omar, Daddy Yankee, Tego Calderon, Hector El Father. Bad Bunny has always been very vocal when talking about the real ones of reggaeton. This genre of music that raised him and helped him find a voice for himself and his reality of life. And this was his way of giving not only a homage, but a voice in one of the most important scenarios that was given for the first time to a Latin artist for himself and himself only. Then Eo comes on, and he tells us once more to remember we're listening to music from Puerto Rico, music that he was raised with. And it's a short bridge, one that serves to show us Concho, the little frog you could see there, that was looking at the show as well, and to connect us with Monaco, a song that speaks about luxury that he could finally get and enjoy after working hard for it. I discourse his seconds with the speech he gave at the moment. Good afternoon, California. My name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, and if today I'm here in the 60th Super Bowl, it's because I never stop believing in myself. And he looks into the camera, breaking this fourth wall while telling us, you should also believe in yourself. You are worth more than you think you do. Latin culture at its best. All snips of our lives in Latin America, things that even I, as a Mexican, could recognize as part of my culture and my life growing up here without having to visit Puerto Rico. He showed our culture, traditions, the way we party, and the colorful way only us Latinos could recognize as a way of living. And here it brings us back to that couple we saw getting engaged in the beginning. It's their wedding day, and everybody's there.
Hey, it's me, the future me, editing. I was editing the video just right now, and I thought about adding something that I learned about just today. And apparently, the couple that we saw yesterday getting engaged and then married in the Super Bowl were an actual couple getting married. So the story is apparently they got engaged, like I think like last year, and they thought about like inviting Bad Bunny at their wedding, probably a joke, I don't know. They invited him, he got the invitation, he was like, you know what, guys, why don't we do it here? And so they did go, and they were actually getting married at the Super Bowl. And apparently, even Bad Bunny signed papers as like like testifying. I don't know the veracity. I don't know why you need witnesses, but he did. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Something to add. A fun fact. Right.
And then, when they're finally wedded, we get to see Lady Gaga, who appears in this beautiful dress with Puerto Rico's flag colors on it, while she sings Die with a Smile in a salsa beat, with the rest of the dancers dancing as if it's a real wedding that was happening there. Kids and some grown ups on the outside of the dance floor. And this is another beautiful and true peek into our life and traditions of Latinos. The parties, the way we party and celebrate every little event in our life like there's no tomorrow because there might not be. The kid sleeping in the chairs was for me big Latino experience. You're not a real Latino if as a kid you never slept in a makeshift bed with two chairs in a loud family party as your parents dance the night away. Here Benito says the well-known phrase now, mientras uno esté vivo, uno debe amar lo más que pueda.
Mientras uno está vivo, uno debe amar lo más que pueda.
As long as one is alive, one should love as much as one can, which takes us to Baile Inolvidable, with everyone dancing there. Here he says, Baila sin miedo, ama sin miedo.
Baila, baila, baila sin miedo. Ama sin miedo.
Dance without fear, love without fear. Something simple, but that could speak volumes in the current situation immigrants are facing in the States. Then he takes us to NYC with Nueva York. So important here since he shows us the iconic Toñita that is mentioned in the song, the owner of the Caribbean Social Club. Quick cultural fun fact for you here. In Williamsburg, Brooklyn, there's this Caribbean social club, a Puerto Rican social club that's been active since the 70s, known as Toñita's house or La Casa de Toñita, like it's mentioned in the song. It became known as when it was mentioned in the song as this place where Puerto Rico feels closer and Puerto Rico siente cerquita. Nowadays, it's visited by a lot of immigrants in New York, a place where they can forget, at least for a couple of hours, about ice and the climate of constant vigilance they are being submerged to. And that one is the lady that gives him a shot. Super important Latin culture. The barber shop, the bodega, la casa de Toñita, it all is very familiar to the Latin culture when they moved to the States. And here in this exact moment, something very important happened as well. Here, there's a small break of a couple seconds where we're shown a family watching Bad Bunny's Grammys win of, last week in a small old TV, and suddenly the little kid gets up as Bad Bunny comes closer and he hands him his Grammy while telling him in Spanish, always believe in yourself. That little kid, that is said to be supposed to be a reference to Liam Conejo Ramos, the little boy that was abducted by ICE like a month ago, along his father when he was coming back from school in Minneapolis. Those 10 seconds where we're shown this interaction speaks louder than most political stances. Believe it or not, you decide that one. I decide to believe it because, even if it's just his way of showing, I don't know, he's doing all this to inspire the next generation of big Latin artists, that's a beautiful message as well. Like, either way, I love this message here. After this, we're given a break by the sound of Lorelai with Lo que le pasó a Hawaii, being sung by Ricky Martin. This is also quite a statement, especially now that us Latinos are being faced with a huge amount of immigrants from the US mainly, that are taking over our spaces in our countries. I could guarantee that at least 90% of us probably feel, a certain way of being identified with this song. The lines that were sung here were, they want to take the river, the beach as well. They want my neighborhood and for grandma to leave. No, don't let go of the flag nor forget the little lie, because I don't want them to do with you what happened to Hawaii. Sounds familiar? Then we're taken back to Puerto Rico and its vibrant culture by dancers on the roof and people on light poles working on them. All this while Bad Bunny sings El Apagón, A very powerful song as well that talks about how now everybody wants to be Latino while reminding us that reggaeton came from Latinos. Puerto Rico's the goat. He sends a kiss a grandma, reminds us that great players come from this land, and then Maldita Sea, Otro Pagón, a harsh reality for a lot of people who live in Latin America in some of the least fortunate zones, especially in Puerto Rico. Now everybody wants to be Latino, but y'all are missing flavor, rhythm, and reggaeton.
Ahora todos quieren ser latinos, no, pero le falta sazón, batería y reggaetón. Ey, ey.
And as an actual Latina, man, I love this song and feel it deeply. Everywhere you see people trying to, play pick and choose with our culture, taking the parts they love the most and fixing them into something they discovered. And it's like, damn, I thought Christopher Columbus was dead already, girly. I see this all the time. People calling or aguas frescas spa water, using the makeup Latinas used to get mocked for in the 90s, and using them as dark makeup. It's starting to see people take your culture, and this is just from the Latino side because I've seen them as well with things that are part of African Americans, things that are part of Asians in the States. It's get starting to see people take your culture, branding it differently for their consumerism, and then leave you outside of it. And Bad Bunny understood the assignment with this one. Then comes Café con Ron, while he brings out all of the Latin American flags, calling out all the names of each Latin country.
God bless America. Sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia.
But no, he doesn't stop there. He calls out Canada and United States as well. And this is a message. We Latinos thought that this was going to be a slap against this new, very racist and xenophobic agenda the States has. A way to put us in a different, level, show that we are kind of better, I suppose. I don't know. But no, he's not calling for a fight. He's calling for union. All of this while there's a billboard behind of him that says, "The only thing more powerful than hate is love." And after this, he kept saying, "To my motherland, Puerto Rico, seguimos aquí," while he shows us the American balls and says, "Together we are America." And after this, he ends the show with Debí tirar más fotos while everybody follows him out of the field. And that's the end of it. And this show was powerful. It gave us a sense of belonging, of origin, and of resistance. He called all of our country's names while reminding us that everybody else that we're still here and that we're not going anywhere. We see a mass wedding, a not Sunday television across Latin America, an old car, a 1950s style pickup truck reminding us of our ancestors and the hard work and their willingness to keep working for this land wherever we go. These are elements of identity that don't give up, that fight against oblivion and against rejection that they face every step of the way. We even see the not so good side with Bad Bunny climbing into these flashing light poles, a reminder of this failure of the distribution of essential services, both on the states and so many others, and Puerto Rico, the blackout, el apagón. Musically, the show was equally significant and powerful. It wasn't just his hits and the music we all have on our playlist to dance to, it gives us this complex narrative. Caribbean rhythms, pop, those familiar plastic chairs that us Latinos know so well, the parties, the union, the food, the small businesses that make our culture, the sense of belonging. All these while one main message remained, we're all one. NFL is a cultural war zone. It always has been. This didn't start with Bad Bunny and it won't finish with him. Easy example, last year halftime show with Kendrick Lamar. Even an easier example, Colin Kaepernick and the way he created controversy by taking a knee as a protest. He made the conservatives cry, and quoting Donald Trump himself, he said, "Get that motherfucker out of the field, fire him." When said protest happened, Colin was shortly cut off his team and never played again, all under the excuse that politics and sports shouldn't be mixed. In a hypocritical way that only right wingers could pull, almost every team had a homage for Charlie Kirk after that incident. Only 6 out of 32 teams opted to stay out of it. 6. NFL searches for expansion out of the States. They are trying to get this sport to be consumed globally. It's clear that having Bad Bunny in the halftime show, it's their way of trying to achieve this. But at the same time, his presence in the Super Bowl or having Billy Joe Armstrong wearing a Virgen de Guadalupe chain around his neck are political statements in favor of cultural diversity in a country where the ruler freely supports politics full of xenophobia and segregation. This was a show made for Latinos by Latinos. Yes, full of references only us could pick from our culture, but at the same time, it called for something bigger than our culture and traditions and inside jokes. This was a show made for Latinos by Latinos. Yes, full of references only us could pick from our culture, but at the same time, it called for something bigger than our culture and traditions and inside jokes. Union. This show felt different. It wasn't just the artist adapting to the Super Bowl in giving us a flashy show while just playing their most known songs. It was, if only for a short significant moment, the Super Bowl adapting to Puerto Rico and the complexities of Latin American cultures and realities. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a cultural space and a message of resistance and familiarities to Latino. We're still here, we're not going anywhere. Everything is political, and very few things in life are a casualty. And the fact that we got Green Day and Bad Bunny in the same show with this current political climate, it's not one of those casualties. I feel that there's a message here that we each have to digest and understand at our own pace. Don't forget that our critical thinking skills are one of the most important things to have in this age of propaganda, and one of the very few things that nobody can take from us. Use it, digest this little food for thought that we are giving today, and make your own conclusions out of it.